Director at the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. And then I am also the manager of the FAO GM Foods platform. And then I would like to really warmly welcome all of you here once again, and thank you really all for joining this webinar. And this is the third webinar in the series on the international databases on biosafety organized by FAO and CBD and OECD. Okay, and I move to the next slide. These are the faces of the organizers. And you can see I am Masami, and then I have my colleague Kosuke next to it, and then of course the Manuela and Dina from Biosafety Clearinghouse CBD, and then we have Peter, Bertrand, and Taka from OECD. So this is the normal usual team that we work together. And then the last few years the collaboration has been really pleasant, and we've been working together on a number of items and then activities, and then it has been really successful. So first of all, I would like to thank all my colleagues to work together on various issues, and then I would like to just acknowledge the time difficulty that the Manuela and then Dina are having. Actually, Manuela just told me that this is 3 a.m. in Montreal, Canada, and then they were really willing to participate and then organize together of these two sessions of the webinar together, although the time could be very challenging. So thank you to them. But then now that without losing too much time, that I would like to say that what is it about the participants. We have around 100 participants from 70 countries registered to this webinar for 2 sessions today. And then it really confirms the importance of the topic, and once again I really appreciate your willingness and an interest on this topic. And then also I would like to say that the first webinar, second webinar, I am going to have Kosuke briefly summarize what happened for the first 2 webinars. But then for this present webinar, the objective of this third webinar is actually focusing on providing the training opportunities for all of them, and then to find out that what would be the best way to use the data hosted by 3 databases that FAO and CBD and an OECD have. And then also we, the organizers, would like to learn from you, the participants, about what national opportunities and benefits as well as challenges that you might be facing. We would really like to understand so that we can contribute to resolve the issues, and then also to make the databases more useful and beneficial for all of them. So I will now hand over the microphone to Kosuke, and then who can summarize the first and second webinar, and then what we did and what we discussed. So Kosuke, the floor is for you.
Thank you, Masami. Please let me review the previous webinars with you. The first webinar was organized in November 2014. During the webinar, the mandates, scopes, and activities of 3 databases were discussed, and we obtained a common understanding of the respective databases. The webinar also gave us useful information from the side of the users in order to further improve the practical and operational aspects of the database management. Followingly, the second webinar was held in May 2015. The second webinar highlighted the importance of strengthening and establishing effective national communication and coordination mechanisms on the topic of biosafety. During the webinar, the importance of national communication and coordination mechanisms was recognized. During those 2 webinars, many participants recognized the usefulness of the webinars in exchanging information and country experiences, and thus requested FAO, CBD, OECD to continue organizing more webinars. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kosuke, for a very crisp but then clear summary of the first and second webinars. So I just wanted to highlight that the first and second webinars, actually the organizers side, those people who are on this slide, were the ones to inform people that what we have on the database and how we hope that the data will be used. But then for this webinar, we would like to hear from the other side, the user side. So now that I would like to briefly introduce you about the agenda today. So now that this is the opening session, and right after this, we will welcome the 3 speakers and then discuss about the use of the data on our databases. Then we have an interactive discussion session at the end, and then we will discuss, all of us discuss, and then we have a closure by OECD. So this is the more or less very rough agenda for today. But then, as you can see, the chat box right bottom corner. So this is the chat box that we would really like you to use for entire period of the webinar. Please write whatever, whenever that you have questions, comments, feedback, anything that you are free to type anything, and then organizers will pick up your questions and we will address the questions as many as possible. And then if, because of the time limitation, we cannot address any of the questions or comments, then we will make sure to address them after the webinar, and then we will capture in the report so that you have a clear answers from anyone from us, and then we will facilitate the collecting the answers from the presenters and participants who may use the microphones to talk. So you will get what you need. So please utilize this chat box to make questions and comments, please. So now that there is a technical support available, we have to say that you can see in the chat box above there is a host, there's my name and then also Kosuke's name, and then there is a name that it's not full name, but then we have a Mehad Omar from FAO, and then who will be able to give the technical support for you. So if you have a problem, send a message to Kosuke or Mehad Omar, so that we can try to help you in resolve the technical issues. So now that I would like to start the session, and then I will ask Kosuke to load the presentation of the first speaker, Ayako, and then I will kindly ask each presenter to introduce themselves at the beginning of the presentation. So Ayako, the floor is yours.